All right, I am once again with Carrol Schlett. And Carrol, I really wanted to kind of go back through your testimony because you've had a very unique um, experience and testimony. First of all, you heard about this down in San Antonio and yada yada. We ended up coming up here to Missouri and sharing with you and a group of people. Anyway, you signed up to get these amazing regenerative stem cells, and before you got them, you had that horrible little, you decided to take up motor scootering or something, and that didn't go too well. There goes a motor or something right behind you there. Anyway, it did a lot of damage to your leg.
Yes.
Because initially, weren't you getting these for your back? Wasn't that your kind of bone density, back, that kind of thing, I think?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, kind of retell your leg story, because that became a really major deal.
Yes. Well, like you said, I tried to ride a motor scooter for the first time at 70-something, and it didn't go well. So I ended up really messing up my left leg. So it stripped the fascia off the muscle, and it bruised the bones real bad, and all the gunk flowed into that area where the fascia was stripped.
Wow.
So it was a huge monster thing of just bad gunk in there. And
when you're saying gunk, that's really an infection, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the surgeon, because they finally referred me to a surgeon, said that you have free floating bacteria in your body, and they will settle in a place like that and cause real problems.
Wow.
So the problem was it was real injured and it wasn't healing. So from my knee down to my toes, I was black and swollen, like 2 or 3 times normal. And so blood flow to my foot was what they were really concerned about at first. And then they were concerned because it didn't show any signs of healing. There was no new tissue forming. So my doctor referred me to a surgeon, and before I actually made it to the surgeon, I was scheduled to get the stem cells, and that was for back issues. And so after I got the stem cells, I had seen actually one doctor on a Tuesday, and when I went back on Friday.
I'll stop you. Weren't if I remember correctly, were they not, because you weren't healing, it wasn't moving in the right direction, they had actually discussed with you amputating?
Well,
your
they
foot
told
and
me
leg.
the danger was that I could get gangrene in
Yeah.
that foot. And so he was sending me to a surgeon, and the surgeon would cut it all open and try to clean everything out. But the surgeon told me that if he did that, that's risky too, because more bacteria can actually settle in there by opening it up. So he said if it can heal normally, that was the best thing. So before I got to the surgeon, I had the stem cells on Tuesday, and by Friday, I had a chiropractor appointment, and he had seen it on Tuesday right after I got the cells. Then he saw it on Friday, and he said, "I can't believe the difference. That's starting to heal." And he could see that, and he's not medical. So I followed up with my doctor the next week, as well as the surgeon, and my doctor said, "I think I see new tissue forming, but I want the surgeon to look at that and have another pair of eyes on it." So I went to the surgeon, and he looked at my records first, came out and said, I looked at the CAT scan, and he said, "That's a royal mess in there." and then he looked at my leg, and he said, "I think there's new tissue forming. It looks like it to me." So he gave me things to watch for and sent me home and said, "If you see any of these things in your leg, you call me and get right back in here." So I didn't. My leg continued to heal. So it was a long process. It took it probably 2 years for all the swelling to pretty much go out of it, but you could just see it getting better and better the whole time. So, but when I had the accident up until the 3.5 week point, it hurt like the day of the accident. It never subsided any because there just was no progress in it. So then once they started seeing the new tissue, it actually started feeling better. And then
the stem cells were doing their thing.
Yes, they were working. So that was really exciting.
And the other thing you were looking for was your bone density.
Yes.
We've talked about that several times, and in one way you seemed kind of frustrated that your first bone density wasn't just perfect, but you understood that those cells, they had a bigger issue to deal with to heal that leg and potentially save your leg.
Yes, that was a they called it a traumatic injury. So that was threatening to my body because, like I said, I could have lost limbs in that, and that was the danger of it. So the other thing, though, I have a connective tissue disorder, and so that was the main thing I was thinking of when I took the stem cells, but I wrote everything on there that was wrong with me, and bone density was one. It was very low. So when I left Texas, it was already very bad, and they've been trying for 10 years to get me on to Fosamax or one of those type medications. And I know the repercussions of that medication and did not want to do that.
Yeah.
So when I got up here and my doctor tested me for it and it was so bad, he also wanted to put me on the medication. And I said, but I just had those stem cells and I want to see first what they will do for me. So he said, okay, he would work with that. So he retested. I had the cells in September. He tested me in March and it was bad, and he said, but we don't know what you're coming from because Texas never forwarded my test results from there. So he said, I don't know the baseline, so we'll just use this as a baseline. And it was bad. It was osteoporosis. So then the following year, this would be 24, he retested and he said, you've had marked improvement in your leg. But what I want to know is, will it continue to improve or will age max you out on it? Because although the stem cells work 3 to 4 years, you're also aging in those 3 to 4 years. And he wanted to see what the balance was going to be. So I had it retested again and got the results last week. And now I am right at normal.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes.
And you see him next week, so
I see him
you'll
next
get to hear
week.
his perspective on it.
And he already told me last year when I had tested and it came like it did, he said, you've made a believer out of me. Now it's for his information. He wants to see, does it continue to get better? And so it has. So anyway, it's exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for taking the time to kind of walk back through it because, I think that is such a unique situation where you were getting the cells focused for one or two main reasons, but then an emergency, I'll word it that way, came into your life, and those cells, praise God, went and took care of that first, and then they got back on track with what you were hoping for. And we're not microwaves, so it doesn't happen overnight. So, but steady by steady, little by little. Oh, now you've got a good report. Praise God.
I do.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrol.